last night, gathered for our special Thanksgiving edition of Operation. Before we could even think about tears, we had to complete the new holiday tradition, replaying Ebereze Eze, North London Derby hat-trick, over and over and over again. By the 20th viewing, the dog was celebrating each goal like it was a fresh serving of leftovers. And since Thanksgiving is all about gratitude, we made sure to give thanks to the truly beautiful things in life, like Man City and Liverpool losing not only in the Premier League, but in the Champions League too. To top it off, with Arsenal confirming their place as Europe's best team as a delicious dessert. The committee feasted on those results like pumpkin pie. Then, bloated with schadenfreude and surrounded by empty plates and questionable amounts of gravy, we toiled and burned the midnight oil to craft this week's definitive holiday certified list. So without further ado, it's time for Anton's Tears. Hello everybody and welcome back in to Hotsport, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates. I know most of my audience here are from the UK because obviously that's who really cares the most about the Barclays Premier League, or now to be known as the Premier League. But you know, I do have my American roots, and so I thought that I would make a Thanksgiving themed Tears this weekend heading into what is now a Matchweek 13 in the Premier League. But before we get into any of that, make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you are subscribing to Hotsport. And of course, follow us on the socials. We've got some reels that have been coming back this week. Hit it off with my reaction to the North London Derby. That video has gotten many views, and just recently updated as well my reaction to Arsenal beating Bayern Munich in the Champions League. So yeah, check out us on the socials that are listed below, and of course hit the QR code to get yourself subscribed and check out Fire Them Cannons. Guys, within an hour or so of this video coming out, we are going to be having a very special episode of Fire Them Cannons, which is the Thunderdome edition, which of course is going to feature some very prominent Chelsea content creators that are going to come onto the show, and we're going to battle it out, and we're going to really talk, because you know a lot of Chelsea fans believe that they have a better team than Arsenal, so we will of course have to discuss and figure all that out. So that's going to be a really tasty edition. I still have to write the topics list for that one, just between me and you, my Hotsport community. But yes, now that all that business is out of the way, let's get into the tiers. And by the way, guys, just one last thing on Fire Them Cannons. Last night we did a live stream, and it was our largest ever live stream in the history of Fire Them Cannons. So thank you, everybody. Anyone who came from this network on to see me on Fire Them Cannons, I appreciate that. All your support, guys. It's been amazing. What a journey. We had also an awesome, very fiery episode of Six Sided this morning as well, so go check that out on the Football Terrace. All right, here comes the tiers, and it's Thanksgiving themed. So let me run you through. Generally, we just jump into it, but let me run you through how we're going to work this one today. So not only am I going to rank the Premier League teams, but I'm also going to rank the traditional Thanksgiving foods from worst to first. So let's give it a try. By the way, this is my ranking for Thanksgiving food. So if you guys have any other, different opinions, whether or not you celebrate Thanksgiving or you're used to eating Thanksgiving food, I think at one certain time in your lifetime you would have had this combination of food. Maybe like for Christmas or something as well. It's kind of like very similar type of meals, So let me know what you think. By the way, I had to get the ham out of the list, by the way, because because of my religion, I do not eat ham. So just letting you know, that's why it's on the list. It's not applicable to me, but let's go. Bottom row, and we can reveal my least favorite Thanksgiving food is sweet potatoes. And let me tell you, it's just because I had this thing like I don't like things that look like they're meant to be savory but have a sweet flavor. Look, I don't mind having a sweet potato and a stir fry or a long, like, I'll still eat it. Like, it's not like I'm just avoiding it completely. I will still eat my mashed potatoes. Just like I will still, once in a while, watch Wolverhampton Wanderers, even though they are so crap. And yet again, just as predicted, they lost another game to Crystal Palace, of course. And that was at Molyneux at home. So, yeah, again, we're going to start, cutting some teams out from these tiers. Like, I reckon it's almost going to be an guaranteed elimination for Wolves. There's not much more I could say rather than they are the bottom team in the tiers. Let's move on up and reveal the second least favorite Thanksgiving food for me. By the way, it's not like I don't I hate any of these. These, like, I generally love my Thanksgiving food, but I've ranked them 1 to 9 as there are 9 tiers here. So number 8, the 8th tier, and my 8th favorite Thanksgiving food is cranberry sauce. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I actually kind of like cranberries. I like them in a salad. I'll actually make a cranberry salad, but the cranberry sauce, again, not for me. Actually, like, I do like them a little bit more than sweet potatoes because I know that it's meant to be sweet. And, like, I'll have, like, this sounds gross. I'll have, like, cranberry sauce on, like, toast. That, like, or I'll have it, like, with my dessert or something like that. But I won't fucking put it on my turkey or, on all my other stuff, my mashed potatoes, my casserole. I don't know, like, not a big fan of the cranberry sauce. And by the way, it was a close call, cranberry sauce or sweet potatoes. I went with sweet potatoes as my least favorite, but cranberry sauce isn't far off. Just like, as much as Wolves are bad, these teams aren't far off, but I would say they are a level above. They've proven that there is life, that these are teams that are towards the bottom of the Premier League table, / I don't believe in their talent, but they've shown a lot more consistency than Wolves. So, for instance, Burnley are second bottom in the league, but they are 8 points ahead of Wolves. And yeah, look, I gotta say, for Burnley, early on in that game, I thought they had Chelsea penned in for a little bit, and I thought they were resolute for a while. But once Neto finally got that goal and gave Chelsea the lead with a header, I felt like nothing from Burnley. Like, all hope was lost. They knew overall their overarching quality was not good enough to get themselves over the line. It's almost as like they needed a 0-0 draw to get points out of Chelsea. And the minute Chelsea scored, the life came out of the bubble. And that's just the thing for me, guys, is that at the end of the day, Burnley are going to be mismatched talent-wise against basically most teams in the league, bar Wolves. Like, that's just the facts. Like, and that's why they're in this. But, they are at least signs of life. They at least give you a challenge. They at least set themselves defensively. Wolves are just punching decks. So that's a difference. Fulham are on the bottom part of these tiers as well. And look, they actually got a big win. They beat Sunderland, the Sunderland team that got a draw against Arsenal. And I kind of felt that they were going to get something. I predicted, I think, a draw in this game. I think Fulham are a little bit better of a team. And I think that's one thing that all these teams have in common, with the exception of West Ham, is that if you travel to their stadiums, they will have good spells where they're going to have a crack at you. It just so happens that within that spell, Fulham managed to take the lead against Sunderland. That's just kind of how it is. Jimenez at the end, came up with the goods, and it looked like a game that was going to a stalemate. But that home energy kind of got them over the line. And look, again, they've had these results sprinkled in throughout the season, but more often than not throughout the season, which is why, we don't go too far over one victory in general on these tiers. By the way, the victory is weighted, by the way. So they got they get a victory against Liverpool or Arsenal or City or Chelsea, obviously it carries more weight. Their win over Sunderland, at home, It is what it is. So, again, I think they're consistent enough to stay up, but are they like a team that most of the big clubs fear to play? Probably not at this point in time. And then Leeds. Leeds are on this list. Again, by the way, they put out a valiant performance. Villa had to come from behind. They took a couple of just fantastic pieces of magic from Morgan Rogers to give them the lead. And I picked Leeds to get something out of that Villa game. I was looking right for a long period of time until Villa finally broke through and turned the game around. Leeds have shown, especially at Elland Road, that they are a tough team to go ahead and beat. And they played a Villa team that's been surging, and they made it tough for them. They did. They made it tough. At the end of the day, though, again, just like most of the teams in this list, it's their overarching quality that just can't quite get them over the line. And lastly, on these tiers, West Ham United. Like, I thought they had this one. They had a great chance in this game. I mean, 2-0 up away at the Vitality Stadium, and they just blew it. By the way, away at the Vitality Stadium with Semenyo out. Like, what a great opportunity. You got Callum Wilson, who returned back to his former club, banging it in the first half hour or so, and West Ham looked to be rolling. And West Ham have picked up some good steam in recent times. But again, I just felt like they fumbled the bag in this. That was an opportunity to take advantage of a Bournemouth side that has been slipping, and they just couldn't do it. So, while in recent weeks I think they've been coming back with under Nuno Espirito Santo, and it felt to me like they were going to continue that by the way they started out this game, a little bit of that just West Ham-y vibes has been carrying on through the whole year creeped in. Now, I'm really curious to see how it works out when they play Liverpool this week, because Liverpool themselves have just been absolutely a mess. But West Ham is also the type of team that Liverpool can come back and use to gain confidence again. So, again, watch this space on West Ham. They're incredibly unpredictable at this point. But again, overall, they're more bad than they are good, and which is why they're on the 8th part of this tier. Now, up to the 7th part of this tier. And ranked 7 on my Thanksgiving foods is pumpkin pie. I'm not gonna lie, I actually like pumpkin pie. I do like pumpkin pie. And I will eat it. It's probably the only time of year I will eat pumpkin pie. But again, it goes under the same notion as sweet potatoes. I like a type of pies I like are sweet pies. I'm a bit of a candy, chocolatey type of guy myself. I like chocolate pies. I love custody pies. Just dessert tasting type of pies. Pumpkin pie is like a savory pie. And I like meat pies, but it's on the other side of the spectrum. But it's delicious. I do like pumpkin pie. We're starting to get to the point where I've got no problem with the foods. It's just how I'm ranking them. My mom pumpkin pie the other night. I gotta tell you, when we were sitting here, and big up to my mom, she hosted the committee. We had a great Thanksgiving meal. I was like, Mom, is it all right if the committee come over and try out your Thanksgiving food? And of course, my girlfriend came. Everyone in my family, we just had a really good old meal. And my mom's pumpkin pie was the star of the show. I didn't expect it to be this good. Generally, it's ranked about 7th amongst my favorite Thanksgiving meals. But my mom's pumpkin pie was freaking phenomenal. So shout out to you, Mom. And do you know who was phenomenal this weekend? Nottingham Forest. Oh my God. Thank you, Nottingham Forest. Thank you to Sean Dyche, who has just revitalized Nottingham Forest and brought them back to the team, slowly to being the team that they were before they sacked Nuno. And yeah, we could talk about Liverpool later, but let's talk about the other side of this. Of course, that's 2 years in a row they've gone to Anfield and won. The last time they clung onto a 1-0 win This time they absolutely just wiped them off the park. And they could have been 4. They had 1 goal disallowed. Murillo comes in, scores a goal out of nowhere, and all of a sudden Liverpool look behind him, and that old self-esteem is starting to creep it back in. It could have been 2, and then it was 2, and then at the end, Morgan gives White. Great strike. To put the cherry on the top of the pumpkin pie, so to speak. Although I would recommend putting cherry on top of pumpkin pie, but just to see where they have come. By the way, if you look at the recent form of Forest, remember I had them dead at the bottom in the Wolves category for a while there, right? They beat Liverpool. Prior to that, I believe they got a dominant win against Leeds. I think prior to that, they got the draw against Manchester United. Yeah, that's 2 wins on the bounce now. Like I think last week was their first win on a non-Nuno, and now they've taken it to the next level, and they've beaten the team that started out the year as everyone's title favorite in their building. Tremendous. I felt Liverpool overlooked them, and I felt like Nottingham Forest had something to prove. Like that was the liftoff that they needed. Like every once in so often, I feel like one of the teams outside of the top 6 is going to have their day where they pull off something awesome. And this was definitely Nottingham Forest day, because they've been on the back end of some bad results this season. Let's be honest. But this, I gotta say, they were right to sack Ange Postecoglou. I know I was kind of against it, but they're going back to their identity, and it's looking pretty freaking good, I will say, for Forest. So big them up. I know they're in the 7th tier despite that, but again, it lifts them up. It lifts them up a tier. But overall in the season, their form has been more bad than it is good. But again, great win. Thank you very much, Nottingham Forest. To be honest, at this point, I'm starting to feel a bit bad for Liverpool. Like, I just needed them out of the title picture. Now they're way beyond the title picture. Like, I counted them out weeks ago, and if by now, with all the failures, by the way, Liverpool went ahead, we'll talk about it later, and lost again in the Champions League. So that thing's bad. But for Forest, big ups to you guys. Well done to you guys. You guys moved up the tiers, up to the 7th tier. And now ranked 6 in my Thanksgiving rankings is casseroles. By the way, casseroles, freaking delicious. Love casseroles. Let's just also be clear here. Thanksgiving food, I love Thanksgiving dinner. Honestly, my favorite dinner of the year. Like, not only did my mom make me Thanksgiving dinner earlier, we did it on a Tuesday, but then last night on Thanksgiving meal, my girlfriend cooked up some fucking awesome food. Now, she didn't cook up any casseroles. My mom did. My mom bangs out the casseroles. I love my mom's Thanksgiving food. Shout out to my mother once again. I mean, look, we're talking about Thanksgiving food. You got the person who, basically made Thanksgiving for me growing up. But I gotta love myself a good casserole. There's so many different types of casseroles as well. Like, yeah. Love myself a mac and cheese casserole. That's something I've done recently. There's potato casserole. We've done like a shepherd's pie sort of casserole. Yeah, good stuff. Freaking good, guys. How good is casseroles? And how good were Everton? I mean, they're having players sent off for having fights with each other, slapping each other. But even with 10 men, they beat an incredibly disheartened Manchester United. We'll get on to United in a second, later on, just as we go on. But, from the Everton point of view, they went away to the Theatre of Dreams, went down to 10 men, and they showed the resiliency and the stubbornness to, regardless of being in their disadvantage. They actually, by the way, I got to shout out to David Moyes, because David Moyes realized Ruben Amorim is, despite being up a man, is playing with 3 at the back. I mean, there was no tactical switch at all coming from the Man United manager, and David Moyes was like, "You're gonna give it to me? Okay." And great goal by Dewsbury Hall. Great goal by Dewsbury Hall. was a casserole-esque goal. And speaking of casserole-esque, Newcastle, they desperately needed this one. We were talking about, we had them lower down in the tiers, in the Burnley and West Ham and Fulham portion of the tiers. And they got a massive percentage booster for me. Thank you, just like I did, thank you a bit more, by the way. Harvey Barnes should not go without being spoken about. I'm thankful this Thanksgiving, even though he's not an Arsenal player, for Harvey Barnes. Because that 9-minute rush, where he opens the scoring, and then despite City getting an equalizer, he fumbles that second one over the line. He's been in great form. I'm pretty sure he then went into the Champions League and scored their only goal there. I'm pretty sure he scored some goals before the break against Brentford, if I'm not mistaken. The one goal that they had there. I think that he had a couple in the Champions League early on, I think against Benfica. Harvey Barnes has been really good this year. I think that Harvey Barnes has been their best attacker. I know Walter Mata took the highlights for a while, the headlines for a while. And Gordon's been off the pace for the most part this season. And Olenga has been a bust of a signing. But Harvey Barnes, who I don't think on paper Newcastle fans would have considered him a starter, has become their best attacker. He's been amazing. Thank you so much. And a great performance, solid performance all around. We're not talking about just the goals. I thought they were stubborn, they were resolute, they bullied the City at times. I mean, there were also the times where, they let Haaland in and City scuffed some chances as well. Let's not forget. But, they held their nerve. And for most teams, when you allow Man City in, generally they make you pay. They did not make Newcastle pay. And Newcastle, in turn, made City pay for their lack of clinical edge. And they were clinical when they needed to be. In that 9-minute rush, from 60 minutes to 69 minutes, I thought Newcastle were clinical. And they took their hot period and they capitalized on it. And City go home licking their wounds. Amazing. Well done for Newcastle. Now it's time for you guys to push on and get some consistency going. Come on. Have they got back-to-back wins this season? I don't know. But now they're going to travel to Everton, the team that's sitting on these tiers to their left. And so I think it's away from home at the Hill Dickinson. But Newcastle, time to show us some away form. You should be able to beat Everton. I expect you. I think you're a better team than Everton. Go beat Everton. Time to start climbing up the table, guys. Use that City game as a springboard. By the way, I said it last week. Liverpool won their last minute. Arsenal won it last minute. I just couldn't believe that Newcastle would then allow all three of the main title contenders to go and take points from St. James's Park. So big up to them. And big ups, I know that, defeat, and this is a little bit of coming back down to earth for Sunderland after, the high of getting the draw, the last minute draw against Arsenal. And I think they've been really good. They've been consistent this year. But for the first time this season, they looked to me like a promotion team. They couldn't, can you imagine a team can score 2 goals against the best defense in the league, best team in the league, the best team in Europe, and can't score a goal against Fulham away? Maybe that international break did Sunderland more harm than good, but overall the consistency, they've been better than their crosstown rivals Newcastle this year. And so again, these tiers are a reflection. We are now 12 weeks through the season, 12 matches through the season. By the way, it's about to get freaking quick because, by the way, heads up on the tiers. We got tiers coming up really early next week because the Premier League games again happen in the midweek next week. So, but anyway, that's because I was saying week. But we had played 12 matches in the Prem, and Sunderland have been more consistent than Newcastle, but they've come down to earth. And I think, again, the overall talent drops them a bit lower than the table. Because, again, this is not the table, right? So currently overall, Sunderland, by the way, went from 4th to 7th on the table. It's not the table. And so they are in the 6th tier of the table. And I think that's a fair reflection of Sunderland this year. But, yeah, these teams are teams that I just would not sleepwalk into the games against. I would not go into Everton, Newcastle, or Sunderland thinking, we can just cruise through the game, because they're gonna make you pay for it. You got to be on your game. You got to be alert against these three sides. Moving up to the 5th tier, or top 5 Thanksgiving foods. Here we go. Mashed potatoes. I know. Love mashed potatoes, but one thing I'll tell you about mashed potatoes, they're a side dish. And so are these 4 teams. They're side dishes to the main big teams in this league. Aston Villa have been one of the premier side dishes now over the last 3-4 seasons. They've been in and around that. They've been in the Champions League. Right now they're favorites, by the way, for the Europa League. And they showed great resilience to go ahead and beat Leeds. Like, again, they go into the break after a dominant performance against Bournemouth. By the way, who sit next to them on the tiers here, and then they got themselves into a stuck position. And Morgan Rogers, he is a shout for me for the World Cup squad. I know, like, there have been some English number 10s, and Cole Palmer, by the way, is yet to really feature much this season. He's been injured, and of course he stubbed his toe again. But you got Eze, he's been lining up. Foden at times you got Foden, who's in there. Morgan Rogers, so there's a lot of options now. But luckily for some of these players, they are dynamic and they can play also on the wings. But Rogers, from the set piece, that winning free kick, beautiful. And it took Bournemouth took Leeds by surprise there. And good resilience. I mean, they had a really good run, really great run, by the way. They're into the top 4. So again, not the table, because they're a 4th place team, but it's more like they've just kind of, in the back end of the year, kind of turned themselves up into there. And by the way, is that mixed with, I feel like, the overall qualities of some of the teams in the tiers above, but this is definitely the best team in here. But yeah, these teams are, just outside of what I would say the best teams in the land for me. Regardless of the fact, by the way, that Villa, big up to them, are 4th. And they've been in good form. But I'm just not quite ready yet to bump them up. The committee, a few committee members said, like, hey, I think we're a little bit harsh here with Villa. But I think most of us overall, we took the vote, we're like, they just need to see a little bit more, like, as the season progresses. If they're 4th, heading towards a Christmas time, I think different conversations. Bournemouth, on the other hand, at the one point were the darlings of the league. And by the way, I haven't really knocked them much because Semenyo was out. But prior to that, they were slipping. But I got to give them credit for again, just like for Villa, they were resolute. They didn't give up. They were 2-0 down at their own ground. And the penalty gives them life, and then they go ahead and get an equalizer. They push on and pick up a point in this game, because I feel like they lost to West Ham. This season's starting to go in a really negative direction for Bournemouth. But again, given that Semenyo was out, I think that was a really good, greedy draw that they got. Semenyo got to come back, and I think, who they have upcoming next now for Bournemouth, they've got Sunderland away. Okay, that was, again, I can't sit here and say that's easy. It's a type of game that, if you get Semenyo back, they're in with a shout, and I think they gotta get a win though to turn the season back on track to where it was. Brentford, on the other hand, as I said, I just don't trust their away form. They're an amazing home side. Like, they'll win at home on the weekend. But to the Brighton on the right hand side as well are just like them. There are brilliance at home. Danny Welbeck, by the way, has been like not getting enough praise for the form he's had this season. That was an excellent goal by Welbeck in this game. A great goal from Hinchelwood as well. And yeah, I'm not surprised. I think I picked Brighton to win this game. It's just, if the game was in the GTEC, I would have probably gone the other way around. These teams at the moment, I would say, are very similar form this year. They're very comparable, which is why they are on these tiers. Now let's move up to the top for the fourth tier, and the fourth, ranked number 4 on my Thanksgiving list, is mac and cheese. Ooh. Now I gotta say, mac and cheese is only 4th because it's out of the main part of Thanksgiving foods. Like, they're just missing out on the main part of the best part of Thanksgiving, right? It's just because mac and cheese is like an American addition to an American holiday, but like, it's not you'll notice when I'll see the tiers, it's like, it's not turkey related. Like, everything turkey related that goes on the turkey or in the turkey has got to be in your top 3. Like, this is Thanksgiving, right? Like, but outside of the turkey, this is my favorite food. And Crystal Palace, outside of the top 6, have been one of my favorite teams to watch. And again, they did their job. They went to Molineux, they punched the punching bag, just like they should have, and now they're going to get to play the team on this tier. And Manchester United, on the other hand, crazy stat, by the way, that I don't even like, that KJ brought up on Six Side this morning, that Man United only won 12 games out of the last 12 months under Ruben Amorim in the Premier League. It has to be in the Premier League, it can't be overall. So about a win a month. But I think overall, I like some of the players in this team overall. They've shown some form, they've shown some life, and I still think they've got better squads than most of the other teams because of the fact they are Manchester United. I think to not go past the main point though, this Monday was criminally embarrassing from a Manchester United point of view. Ruben Amorim deserves criticism for an early red card, seeing his opponent have an early red card which is completely self-inflicted, and for him not to be like, okay, let's sub out a center back, let's add an extra midfielder or an extra attacker in here and go after the game because we can dominate possession. Let's dominate possession. Let's take the game and choke them out and go on the front foot and take advantage of their numerical disadvantage. And he's stuck with the 5 at the back. Well, like, what a message you send to Everton. Oh, we're too afraid. We're too afraid to open up against Everton, who are missing a man. Sometimes you gotta. I know, like, Ruben Amorim doesn't want to change his system, but sometimes you just got to, push your cards in the middle of the table and just go. You just got to do it. And I think that's awful. And they concede a goal as well with the 10 men. And they just don't have anything. Even after they go down, you're like, okay, well, this Man United, their overall quality. And the players also have to be blamed. There are a lot of opportunities the players absolutely screwed up in this game. Terrible. But overall, I still think that they are still probably there or thereabouts for like the Conference League sort of place. I think there's a chance for them to make the progression, which from last year up to this year. And I think they'll take a step back and look at the big picture, because at times, they've gotten some good results. They've beaten Chelsea and Liverpool this season. And I just get it that overall the Man United just miss being, the kings of England, the kings of Europe. And they just far, far from it. And it's going to be a long haul. But again, would I pick Man United at home to beat most of these teams? Probably. Again, there's also a chance that most of these teams also go ahead and get results. Man United, some of them have. But I think, I still think they're kind of fourth tier for me. And back to Crystal Palace again. By the way, Yeremy Pino, what a freaking great strike. What a strike. Again, but, it's just Wolves. So this week, these two teams play each other. I believe, is it at Selhurst Park? Yeah, that's gonna be. That's gonna be. I don't know. I'm feeling a Palace win, aren't ya? But I don't want to ruin any of my segments later on in the week. All right, let's move on now to the big three, and of course, at number 3 comes stuffing. Fuck, I can't have a turkey without stuffing. Like a turkey without stuffing feels it playing. Especially get myself a good stuffing inside of I even like to have my chicken stuffed. That sounds bad. But you know who's stuffed? Tottenham and Liverpool. More specifically, Liverpool. I mean, things just get from bad to worse. Last week I was saying it was time to stabilize. The title, the title expectations are gone. Time to play out the expectations. But it's just like as if the air has come out of the balloon. Now, even I came to the defense of Slot. I'm starting to think maybe it is time for him to go. Mainly because the players don't seem to be playing for him anymore. And it's just a credible 180 from what it was last year. When he took on a playing squad that didn't have much additions, he believed in all those players. And the players fought for him and they won him a title. First year manager won a title coming from the Netherlands. And maybe what we're seeing now out of Slot is what he really is. That maybe he fooled you guys. Potentially. But, man. I mean, not only do they lose to Nottingham Forest, they ship 4 at home. By the way, these are both games at Anfield. Then they ship 4 at home to PSV. 7 goals in 4 days, 3 days, whatever it is. I just don't have much more words to say. And Virgil van Dijk thinks he's playing basketball. Now, without as bad as you're saying, but look at this form of Liverpool. How do they still stand this high up your tiers? They still have a great squad. They've got great players. If they just wake up, still most weeks go into the week being I think Liverpool's going to win. And I'm going to keep going I think Liverpool's going to win. I think this might be the week they turn it around. You got to keep kind of, at some point, they got to do it. I don't want to go too harshly in on Liverpool because I'm just done with it. So I'm kind of all of a sudden going in the other direction, which is you could argue their form is way down there with the Casseroles. But they were the team that was meant to be running away with the league at the start. They were the favorites as the season kicked off. It did break the transfer window twice. Something has got to give. Either the manager has to go, or these players start showing up for him. And I'm actually shocked after PSV that Slot kept his job. But maybe it's. I just don't know. I've run out of words. I'm actually shocked. But again, I still think they're third tier, and I still think at the end of the year, they're going to find some form and they're going to get themselves in the champs. Or worst case scenario, fifth. That's where I'm sitting kind of right now thinking about them. And for Tottenham, they are the hat trick victims. First of all, I mean, I want to say it for the Arsenal part, but Eze absolutely ripped him. One of my favorite, most magical nights. And again, I gotta say this though, even though it's for Tottenham, there's no shame in losing to Arsenal. As I've said to every team that's lost to Arsenal, it's not a needle mover for me. I know it's a bad look. I know it's a bad. But I believe overall in Thomas Frank, I think they've been better. They've been resurgent. I think their form could bounce back. Who do they have this weekend? They've got Fulham at home. I expect that to be 3 points. They lost to the European champions and the potential champions-elect of the Premier League. Those are Kate's words. Big up Kate from the terrace. So, again, I don't think they were that bad against PSG, to be honest. But overall, they just are not. They're not a title challenger, and they might have an. They're in these three teams. I think are the teams that are fighting it out for the top four. I think you could almost guarantee that. And the other one, by the way, is Chelsea. But Chelsea at the moment are teetering on the edge. This is their season. This is the definition of this season this weekend. I have to give plaudits to Chelsea, which is why I brought them up last on this tier. That Barcelona performance, and I know Araujo got sent off and Barca playing as 10 men, but even prior to that, Chelsea showed their intent. Chelsea showed their class. Chelsea showed Barcelona, who think one of the biggest clubs in the world, traditionally are. They taught them a footballing lesson. And if it weren't for a bunch of disallowed goals, this was a bloodbath. And I know, like, they had, like, the opener was bundled over the line, and sometimes you just kind of got to do that to open up the game. But then Willian Esteval, I am interested to see how he does against Arsenal, against our defense, against our fullbacks. But the kid has been so good, and he took on Barcelona and he ripped them. That was. I don't want to use the word, but that was class without the W word up ahead of it. But there's a huge potential on this guy. He's fun, man. He's fun. Now, I don't know how fun I'll be enjoying him this weekend. We will have to see. It might just not mean that much because Arsenal has just been so good. Like, there's like plenty of class players. And yeah, they still are missing Cole Palmer. And by the way, look again, I gotta tell you, the last few games, Wolves, Burnley, everyone's like, oh, title challengers. And I'm like, again, I don't know. But this week, at home against Arsenal, will define them. Now, I think one or two things are going to happen. I think either Chelsea find their level and they realize that Arsenal just levels above, that they go in this with a little bit of a delusion and Arsenal bring them down to reality, or the Chelsea fans have been right all along, and if they beat us, I think they're their main contenders for the title. I think along with City, I think you gotta keep City in there, and we're gonna get to them in a second. But if they cut the lead to 3, they're title contenders officially. They'd be in the race. They'd be replaced. I'd say here's like this: they would be replacing Liverpool. Where Liverpool should have been in the race, and they're going to be in the first pole position right behind us for the Premier League title, and they would send a message. So it can go one or two ways. Either Chelsea are right here, top 4, most likely contender, or title contender. This is their choice this week. Now, draw, I'd say it's still top 4 contender, because we would maintain our 6-point lead. It really depends on what City does, but that's got nothing to do with Chelsea. So I think they need to get a win against Arsenal to say they're a championship contender. Now, do I think overall that they have the consistency to maintain that and push us for the league? No, I don't. would they have a shout? Will I start considering them that? Based on the table, I would have to. So this is a huge one. I gotta say, in the Premier League, I was like, Burnley and Wolves, okay, whatever. So that Barcelona was an eye-opener. But we're giving a little bit of a handicap there. I'm not going to lie. So let's see. Arsenal, if we can keep 11 men on the pitch, which we have all season. Oh, it's Chelsea, the one that the team has been struggling to keep men on the pitch, by the way. But, let's see. Because I think Arsenal is not just the class of the league, I think they're the class of UEFA. And so this is the biggest test of the season at home for Chelsea. And this is going to be a definition of what their season is. This is their biggest game of the year, I think, easily by a grand slam. Second best food, the second runners-up has got to be gravy. Oh, boy. The reason why I say gravy is because the turkey does not have the same flavor without gravy. Gravy makes the turkey. And that's why. Oh, the flavoring. If you get a gravy right, or to be honest, I'm not a gravy guy in general for the rest of the year because I save it for Thanksgiving. You get that gravy all over that turkey and those mashed potatoes. Oh. Amazing. But it's not quite the best thing on the table. And Manchester City have used to, for so much of this decade, being the best on the table. And they're not anymore. They showed me this weekend that they are what I thought they were a few weeks ago. Like, they started to scare us a little bit, I put them level on the top tier because they started to show that fire in their eyes. They had that performance against Liverpool. The Nottingham Forest have shown you beating Liverpool is not that big of a deal now anymore. I know we didn't do it, but nowadays in November 2025, you kind of discredit it a little bit. And the fact they went to St. James's Park, which I predicted, by the way, that they would drop points. That's 4 losses this season now. Again, they're teetering on maybe 1 loss away from being in that amount of losses that most teams don't have to win a title. And I get they have the most experience, which is why I got to have them second. I get they've got that talent. They've got the best striker on the world. They've got the best manager in the world. If they get Rodri back fit, they got the best midfielder in the world. One of them. But at the moment, I don't think there's an actual contender right now until anyone shows me otherwise this weekend. Because the thing at the top of the table, and my favorite thing I reach for every year at Thanksgiving, just like I reach for in my life, it just perfectly lines up. My favorite Thanksgiving food and my favorite football team, turkey and the Arsenal. And, oh man. What can I say about what Arsenal have done this week? Everyone was doubting this football team, and I told you guys, just relax, wait until we get back to playing ball again. Everyone was just enjoying. I said, enjoy these 2 weeks, guys, because the rest of the season is going to be painful. And they delivered the pain on Tottenham Hotspur. Not just that, to so many levels. Not just the fact that it was Arsenal, they won 4-1. The fact that it was Eze, who Tottenham were convinced that they had got, and then he jumped last second and went. Arteta's like, speak now or forever hold your peace, Mikel. Like, come on, man, I don't want to go to Tottenham. Can you do something about this? And Arteta's like, okay, let's do this. I can hear them crying at the lane. Ebereze has scored again. One call from Nick Arteta. He said, wow, F you Tottenham, I'm a Gooner now. And he said F you Tottenham. 3 of the best. Hat trick. I mean, he was 1 away from a turkey. Turkey is what I call 4 goals. I think it comes from is it a bowling reference? or a hockey reference, let me know in the comment section below. But I think it stands for 4 in a row in bowling, 4 strikes in a row. And it's 4 goals in a match, I believe, is a turkey. Eze was really, really close. I mean, Ricard to make a great save at the end to deny Eze his 4th. But Arsenal were just amazing. The levels, the domination from start to finish. Again, they went against teams that gave them tests. They were resolute. They were stubborn. Tottenham were for certain points. Bayern Munich were for certain points. And that's the next point. So even after that, Bayern Munich came to town. The Bayern Munich that has had Arsenal's number all this time. And even after we went ahead, Bayern pinned us back. You know, they made us pay on 1 error from Miles Lewis-Skelly. But at the end of the day, Mikel Arteta has shown this ability to be like, to press the button, and Arsenal just kill teams off. And this week, the button was Riccardo Calafiori. And it was Gabriel Martinelli. He brought those up in a double switch, by the way, which included sacrificing Bukayo Saka, and it reaped the rewards right away. And then, of course, Martinelli tops that off with a goal. By the way, another fantastic, like, you had the hat trick and then add that beautiful assist from Eze to, you know, put the Champions League game out of reach. And Arsenal have just passed with flying colors. One more in the tough week that everyone has put up for Arsenal. One more. I'm starting to feel it could be the toughest of them all, just given how Chelsea are playing and the fact that it's away from home. But if Arsenal do this, they beat Chelsea, this thing is starting to go out of reach for me. I am going to be unbearable. Like, I want this so bad, you have no idea. Let's see. Anyway, guys, what do you think? What do you think of my rankings for Thanksgiving meals? 52 minutes, by the way. 52 minutes to do the tiers this week. You know, just love chatting. I love chatting to you guys. I love chatting uninterrupted sometimes, to be honest. It's nice. It's nice. Yeah, guys, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. You know, give my best to everyone's family. Hope you guys enjoy this weekend, by the way, of Premier League football, because it's gonna be a good one. I mean, especially that Arsenal-Chelsea game. What a main course it will be for this Thanksgiving weekend in the Premier League. But guys, until then, by the way, coming up soon, as quickly as I possibly can, about an hour or so from now, we have got Fire Them Cannons. It's going to be fun. So it's going to be with, I'm going to name it to you guys now exclusively, with me, Cal, obviously, the co-host. We got Jesse, Chelsea fan from the Terrace. We got Andrew, another Chelsea fan from the Terrace. And potentially Seb. He has to get back to me and tell me if he's willing to wake up at 6 a.m. By the way, Seb's an Arsenal fan, right? We all know. Seb's been on Fire Them Cannons. He's one of my men. Anyway, guys, I gotta get ready for that one. But until next time, we will be back, by the way, I think tomorrow. We've got, obviously, Under Pressure. It's going to be I mean, there are some teams under pressure, man. This is going to be a fun one. I like when there's drama because it makes it Under Pressure a banger. And, of course, you're going to have Upset Alert coming up for you guys, coming up tomorrow on Hotsport. So watch out for that one. Again, head over to Fire Them Cannons because soon we are going to be doing, by the way, if you're watching this later on, then go ahead. Maybe I'm going to do a redirect from here onto the Thunderdome. So it's gonna be fun. It should be fun, guys. Until next time, guys. Anton out.